Intimacy of touch with moon in Anuradha Nakshatra. With the moon in Anuradha, touch is sacred voltage. It carries intensity, memory, and soul recognition in every atom. This is not a moon that seeks casual contact or surface-level gestures. When you are touched, you feel the undercurrent. You register intention, energetic tone, and whether the other is with you or merely near you. For you, intimacy through touch is not a side dish. It is the ritual. Ruled by Mitra, the deity of friendship, loyalty, and sacred contracts, and placed in the sign of Scorpio, a realm governed by Mars and Ketu, Anuradha brings a paradox to your emotional body. You long for deep, bonded connection, but you also guard your vulnerability with steel. Your body doesn't just want to be touched, it wants to be trusted with. And that trust must be earned, not assumed. Touch for you becomes a conduit for fusion. You don't want to be handled, you want to be met. A finger on your wrist is never just a finger, it is a message. Do you see how much of me I am offering by letting you in this close? Your skin, like your soul, is perceptive. If someone touches you to distract, manipulate, or bypass emotional tension, your body tightens, not to punish, but to protect. But when the contact is slow, clear, and anchored in loyalty, you melt in increments. And in that melting, something astonishing happens. You bond. You don't just receive affection, you entwine. A hand cupping your face with reverence, a chest you collapse into without needing to speak, a quiet thumb tracing a scar. These gestures pierce your defenses and echo deeper than words ever could. Your style of giving touch is intense, focused, often quiet. You offer presence that reassures, I'm not going anywhere. Even your smallest gestures, like placing your hand gently on someone's back or wrapping arms around them from behind, carry a weight of protection and emotional commitment. You touch not to entertain, but to encode loyalty into the body. However, when you feel betrayed or emotionally overwhelmed, you may withdraw physical closeness, not as a punishment, but as a recalibration. You must return to your own center before letting another into your field again. Your boundaries are sharp because your sensitivity is deep. If someone mistakes your withdrawal for coldness, they do not yet know the depth of your care. To deepen this intimacy, speak clearly, but soulfully, about what touch means to you. Say, for me, physical closeness is not casual. It's how I communicate trust. Or, when you touch me with steadiness and honesty, I feel safe enough to be fully myself. Let this become an invitation, not a test, and allow yourself to be touched before you are entirely sure you're ready. Let love approach your guarded gates, not with force, but with presence. Let someone's hand remain steady long enough that your fear begins to thaw. Let affection reach the places inside you that don't use words, but know exactly what loyalty feels like. Because when touch becomes not threat, not transaction, but a temple, your Anuradha Moon finds the intimacy it was born to cradle. A devotion forged not through noise, but through presence that proves itself over time. A touch that says, I see all your layers, and I still choose closeness. A bond that whispers through skin, we are not just connecting, we are remembering. Intimacy of sensate with moon in Anuradha Nakshatra, to be heard, seen, tasted, smelled at physical sensory levels. With the moon in Anuradha, your senses are not passive receivers, they're gateways into truth. Every sound, every glance, every texture you encounter is filtered through a fine emotional sieve. You don't just hear words, you hear tone. You don't just see someone's face, you register what they're not saying. Sensory intimacy for you is less about pleasure and more about presence. Are they really here with me? Becomes the question behind every shared experience. Anuradha sits in the deep waters of Scorpio, ruled by the fierce, investigative Mars and the psychic, otherworldly Ketu. This combination makes your sensory system unusually attuned to the emotional charge behind everything. You might flinch at a sharp tone, even if the words are kind. You might be stirred by the scent of someone's skin more than their touch. You might notice how the silence between words carries more meaning than the words themselves. For you, the sensory world is not neutral. It either confirms alignment or triggers a sense of danger. A look that lingers too long without authenticity unsettles you. A voice that speaks love but carries ambiguity causes a knot in your chest. Your body craves harmony between what it senses and what it feels. If the two don't match, your nervous system goes on alert. But when sensory alignment occurs, When someone's gaze feels grounding, when their scent is familiar yet magnetic, when their voice lands soft and deep, you unlock. Your defenses melt not through persuasion, but through attunement. You begin to receive not just the person, but the world they bring with them. You offer the same in return. You tend to create a sensory field of trust. Dim lights, close eye contact, warmth in your tone, slowness in movement. You may speak little but listen deeply. Your presence becomes a container, a sensory atmosphere where someone else can unravel safely. You offer not just affection, but environmental intimacy. This is how you say, I am here, I see, I feel, I will not flee. Still, there is a vulnerability here. If your senses are overwhelmed by chaos, by dishonesty, by too much noise too fast, you close. And once closed, you take time to open again. Your moon doesn't bounce back casually. It needs time to verify safety through the senses all over again. To deepen this intimacy, name your sensory thresholds and needs. Say, I listen best when your voice is calm. It tells me I'm not in danger. Or, I feel closer to you when you see the parts of me I don't name. Help your partner understand that your sensory world is not frivolous, it's foundational, and allow yourself to savor without analysis. Let the warmth of a hand on your shoulder calm your spiraling thoughts. Let the softness of a voice soothe without needing to solve. Let yourself feel safe, even before the story catches up. Because when sensory intimacy becomes not stimulation, but sanctuary, when it affirms not just what is seen, but what is felt in full coherence, your Anuradha Moon finds the depth it aches for. A love that shows up on every channel, every layer. A presence that whispers in sensation, you don't have to explain, I already sense you and I'm still right here. Intimacy of kindness with Moon in Anuradha Nakshatra. Approach should always be one of kindness and compassion, giving each other space to be individual and unique, yet caring and nurturing. With the Moon in Anuradha, kindness isn't just comfort, it's a covenant. You don't need constant affection, but you require emotional integrity. You don't open to people because they flatter you. You open when someone's compassion shows up reliably, especially in the unglamorous, gritty moments. For you, kindness is not just an emotion, it's a daily act of loyalty. Anuradha is governed by Mitra, the deity of friendship, fairness, and commitment, and dwells in Scorpio, the sign of emotional depth and regeneration. This pairing creates a moon that craves relationships rooted in emotional consistency and sacred trust. Kindness for you is not performative. It is precise, unshakable, and aware. It does not say, I'll love you when it's convenient. It says, even when you're tangled in your shadows, I won't turn away. What truly moves your emotional body is compassion with clarity. When someone respects your silence instead of invading it. When they check in, not to fix, but to say, I see you. You don't have to be fine for me to stay. You are not drawn to grand gestures. You are drawn to the kind of kindness that lingers when the intensity fades. That holds you without asking when your fire goes dim. In turn, your kindness is fierce and enduring. You protect those you love with a sacred seriousness. You remember their wounds, even when they forget. You offer small but steady rituals of care. A quiet check-in during their storm, a hand on the back when words fail, a shielding silence when they need space. For you, kindness is not softness alone. It is the anchor. Yet this depth means that unkindness wounds you deeply, even if it appears subtle, a dismissive tone, a forgotten promise, a lack of emotional accountability. These may seem small to others, but to your Anuradha Moon, they rupture the sanctity of trust. And once ruptured, it takes time and truth to restore. To deepen intimacy, express what kindness feels like to you. Say, I don't need fixing, but I do need your presence to be gentle. Or, when you treat my intensity with tenderness instead of fear, I feel safe to stay open. These aren't demands. They are instructions to access the deeper layers of your heart and allow yourself to receive kindness without skepticism. Let someone's gentleness land before your mind questions if it's real. Let yourself believe that care can come without cost. Let love in even when it arrives quietly. Because when kindness becomes not reaction but rhythm, when it holds space for your depth without requiring you to dilute it, your Anuradha Moon finds the intimacy it is divinely attuned for. A love that does not demand light but walks beside you through the dark. A companionship that says, your soul is not too much, your silence is not a threat. I am here. kindly, fully, always. Intimacy of growth with Moon and Anuradha Nakshatra. Allowing each to grow at their own pace, yet being self-honoring, by allowing themselves to be loved and nurtured, even if it means with other partners. With the Moon and Anuradha, growth is not just welcome, it's inevitable. You are wired for transformation, both emotional and spiritual. You don't fear evolution in relationships, you fear stagnation. But growth for you must be tethered to loyalty. It must be grounded in mutual reverence, not abandonment. You will walk through fire for someone who grows beside you, even if their pace or path diverges from your own. Ruled by Mitra, the divine friend and keeper of sacred bonds, and placed in Scorpio, the sign of emotional regeneration, Anuradha gives your moon the power to hold paradox. You can love with intensity and let go with grace. You can bond deeply without clinging. Yet this detachment isn't cold, it's reverent. You understand that true intimacy does not choke. It witnesses growth, even when it stretches the space between you. What challenges you is not your partner's expansion, it's emotional dishonesty about it. If someone grows in silence, hiding their truth, while expecting you to remain the same, it feels like betrayal. You don't need to be involved in every step of someone's evolution, but you do need to be told when a new chapter begins, so you can decide how to walk forward too. In your own journey, you often undergo deep metamorphoses, emerging from emotional darkness stronger, sharper, more inwardly aligned. During these periods, you may withdraw not out of coldness, but to let old layers fall away. You ask that others respect these silences as sacred, not as rejection, but as renewal. And you're capable of allowing non-traditional expressions of love, so long as the emotional contract remains honest and alive. You may be open to expansive forms of connection, but only when trust is fortified, not bypassed. Your Anuradha Moon needs to feel the bond even if the form changes. You are most nourished in relationships that say, grow in your way. I will not grip, but I will not disappear either. You flourish when your evolution is not policed, and when your partner's path is not treated as competition, but as their sacred unfolding. To deepen this intimacy, speak your growth ethic clearly. Say, I can hold space for your becoming, as long as we don't lie to each other about where we are. Or, my love grows strongest when we choose truth over comfort, even when it's inconvenient. Let these become your shared vows, not of possession, but of presence. And allow yourself to be loved during your own becoming. Let yourself be nurtured in flux, not only after you've figured things out. Let someone hold you mid-transformation, even if you're messy, raw in between. You don't need to be fully formed to be worthy of care. Because when growth becomes not a threat but a shared devotion, when it is welcomed without fear and honored without condition, your Anuradha Moon finds the intimacy it was born to cultivate, a love that transforms with you, not in spite of you. A bond that says, we are not here to stay the same. We are here to become together, honestly, with sacred space between us and loyalty always underneath. Intimacy of activity with Moon in Anuradha Nakshatra, to be honoring of oneself and the other in what and with whom they want to participate in activities without force or compulsion. With the Moon in Anuradha, activity is not just engagement, it's energetic exchange. Every shared experience becomes a container for emotional alignment or dissonance. You don't do anything just to do it. You move with meaning. You participate where your emotional body senses presence, purpose, or potential depth. And if that's absent, no matter how appealing the surface, it feels like depletion. This is Scorpio territory, where Mars brings drive and Ketu adds detachment. Anuradha knows how to commit with fire and how to withdraw with grace, which means you may show up fully in shared activities when they feel real, but you will just as easily disappear when things feel hollow, performative, or socially expected. Your time is sacred, so is your emotional energy. You don't lend it to just any situation. You're not the partner who demands constant closeness, but when you do choose to do something with someone, you want it to be potent, emotionally resonant, even if quiet. A walk in the rain that turns into a soul-bearing conversation, cooking dinner together while trading memories, watching a film that unlocks hidden feelings. You crave shared activities that double as emotional undercurrents. And when you're not aligned, you need the freedom to say no without it being read as rejection. You cherish your own rhythm, your own inner cycles of engagement and solitude. Sometimes you need to retreat to recalibrate. Sometimes you need to do things alone to return to yourself. The healthiest partnerships for you are those that understand. You don't need to be joined at the hip to be devoted. In turn, you extend the same grace. If your partner wants to pursue something separate, an art class, a trip, a night out, you don't cling, you don't collapse. You trust, bond over proximity. As long as the emotional thread remains intact, you honor their freedom. You just need the assurance that they want to come back, not because they must, but because they're still tethered by choice. To deepen this intimacy, say, I connect best through shared activity that feels intentional, not just convenient. Or, you don't have to do everything with me, but when we are together, I need it to feel real. Let your partner understand that for you, activity is a medium of emotional coherence, not a social checklist, and allow yourself to enjoy lightness too. You don't always have to mine the depths. You don't always have to merge and uncover. Let yourself go on spontaneous adventures. Say yes to joy without a blueprint. Let love show up in laughter and games, not just in the sacred silences. Because when activity becomes not compulsion but communion, when it reflects choice rather than pressure, your Anuradha Moon finds the intimacy it intuitively seeks, a bond where freedom deepens devotion, where shared presence is not demanded, but chosen again and again. A connection that says we don't have to always move together, but when we do, let it mean something. Let it be us. Intimacy of allowance with Moon in Anuradha Nakshatra. To allow each to be who and what they are at any given moment, day, or week of their life, that one is not a master or slave of another. With the Moon in Anuradha, allowance is not indifference. It's emotional reverence. You don't want to be managed, explained, or rescued. You want to be witnessed in wholeness. One day you may be intense, devotional, emotionally fused. Another day, silent, submerged, unraveling in a private world of inner tides. And what you need is not correction, but acceptance without fear. Scorpio's energy, layered through Anuradha, carries sacred contradiction. Mars brings precision and commitment. Ketu brings withdrawal and transcendence. The result? A moon that fluctuates between passionate presence and necessary emotional solitude. And yet, through it all, you remain deeply loyal, not in performance, but in essence. So when you are allowed to shift, to soften, retreat, blaze, weep, be silent, be raw, you feel seen without being seized. That's what creates safety. That's what allows your body to trust. Because your emotional landscape is not a predictable road. It's a terrain of sacred change, shaped by memory, spirit, and intuition. If someone tries to fix you, you vanish. If they hold space without panic, you bloom. This is the same permission you extend. You don't need your partner to be perfect, regulated, or emotionally symmetrical. You love people in their becoming. But what you do require is honesty. If someone hides behind allowance to avoid showing up, or confuses freedom with emotional irresponsibility, you will feel it immediately and distance yourself. For you, allowance is not about disengagement. It's about attuned spaciousness. It's about saying, I see who you are today. I won't demand who you were yesterday. You understand that love is not a shape we freeze into, but a rhythm we co-create, moment by moment, even in silence. To deepen this intimacy, speak from your emotional logic. Say, I shift sometimes. Please don't rush me back to center. I return faster when I'm allowed to breathe. Or, if I retreat, it's not punishment, it's my way of realigning. I'll come back clearer if I'm not pulled prematurely. These truths will not repel the right partner. They will ground them, and allow yourself to feel safe even when you're inconsistent. You don't owe anyone the same version of you every day. Let yourself be cared for in chaos, in quiet, in contradiction. You don't have to make sense to be held with love. Because when allowance becomes not avoidance but sacred spaciousness, when love can hold your emotional range without needing to rewrite it, your Anuradha Moon finds its native ground. A bond where transformation is not feared, but honored. A connection that says, you are not too much when you change. You are not hard to love when you fluctuate. I am not here to shape you. I'm here to stay close while you shape yourself. Intimacy of giving with Moon in Anuradha Nakshatra. Knowing and being that all love originates in the act of giving, safety of space, nurturing and caring. With the Moon in Anuradha, Giving is a vow. You don't give halfway. You give with intensity, intentionality, and a quiet knowing that love must be proven through presence, not performance. Your acts of care are never random. They are precise, soulful, and emotionally binding. When you give, it's not to impress, it's to anchor, to say, "This is real, I am here." Anuradha is ruled by Mitra, the deity of sacred friendship, alliances, and steady commitment, and lives within Scorpio's deep emotional terrain. This gives your moon the ability to give from depth, not display. You offer loyalty as medicine. You give space as protection. You give truth, even when it's uncomfortable, because for you, withholding clarity is a form of emotional disloyalty. Your giving often takes the shape of holding the container. You're the one who remembers the emotional undercurrents others forget. You protect sacred silences. You check in even when things seem fine, because you feel when something's off. You don't just give things, you give presence with direction. Your love says, "I'm not going to smother you, but I will stand here until you're ready to be seen again." You also give your full self when trust is earned. Your time, your energy, your emotional maps. But your giving is discerning. You don't flood people with affection. You observe. You scan for integrity. You ask, can this person hold what I offer without collapsing under it or using it against me? What wounds you is not lack of gratitude. It's emotional laziness. If someone treats your devotion like a transaction or assumes your emotional labor will always be there without reciprocation, you begin to shut down. Not out of bitterness, but because your giving must be met with presence. You are not a faucet. You are a well fed by truth, mutual care, and energetic accountability. To deepen this intimacy, share how you give and what you need in return. Say, when I give space or care, it's not passive. It's my way of saying I'm holding the line. I just need to know that you see it. Or, I don't give because I'm trying to earn love. I give because I love deeply. But I also need to feel safe giving from that depth. And allow yourself to give without armor. Not just when you're in control or when it's strategic, but when your heart overflows. Let someone feel the magnitude of your care without apology. You don't need to mask it in restraint just to feel protected. Because when giving becomes not duty or drama, but a sacred offering of steadiness, presence, and emotional protection, your Anuradha Moon finds its soul-shaped intimacy. A love that doesn't just hold space, but fortifies it. A devotion that says, this is how I protect what we're building. I give not to bind you, but to remind you that you're never alone in this bond. Intimacy of receiving with Moon in Anuradha Nakshatra. Knowing and being, that intimacy is an act of receiving with gratitude and originates in the inner feeling of being abundant in giving, receiving another at all levels, physical, emotional, and mental. With the Moon in Anuradha, receiving is not weakness. It's vulnerability transformed into strength. You are so naturally attuned to giving, so accustomed to watching, holding, and protecting others, that receiving can feel unfamiliar, even destabilizing. But when it happens right, when love enters gently, clearly, without expectation, it breaks you open in the most healing way. Anuradha's emotional architecture is built on Scorpio's intensity and Mitra's sacred loyalty. You were born to love deeply, but also to guard your core. And so, when someone offers you care, genuine, present, uncalculated, you might initially resist. Not because you don't want it, but because your body asks, is this safe? Is this real? What will they want in return? You tend to feel more comfortable when you're the one anchoring others. You know how to read emotional undercurrents. You know how to give without being asked. But to let someone else witness you, in your grief, your stillness, your slow mornings or stormy nights, is a sacred threshold. You don't cross it for just anyone. Yet, when you do, you receive like the ocean receives rain, fully, without conditions. You let their presence soften your vigilance. You let their touch ground your restlessness. You let their love show you that being held is not the same as being controlled. And in that, you rediscover something holy. You don't have to always be the strong one. The key for you is emotional congruence. You can feel the truth behind a gesture. If someone offers love from guilt, savior complex, or inconsistency, your emotional body closes like a gate. But if they offer with steadiness and no demand, you open, slowly but fully. You don't need extravagance. You need emotional clarity. To deepen this intimacy, express the truth behind your guardedness. Say, sometimes it's hard for me to receive. I'm used to doing the holding, but when you offer with presence, I do feel it. I just take time. Or, I feel safest receiving when I know there's no price attached, just care. And allow yourself to receive without guilt. Let someone stroke your hair in silence. Let their affection soothe your nervous system. Let yourself be celebrated, comforted, listened to, without needing to give back right away. Let love pour in not as obligation, but as recognition. You are worthy of this, even in stillness. Because when receiving becomes not exposure but sacred reciprocity, when you allow others to care for you without fear or performance, your Anuradha Moon finds the intimacy it was meant to hold and be held by. A devotion that says, you don't have to carry the whole world to be loved. You don't have to anticipate everyone's needs to be worthy. I see you. Let me give back. Let me stay.